this Mark's Reviews and Tutorials video. Today we're looking at a Poolrite, what they call a smart valve. That's this guy here. It looks a whole lot different to a normal multi-port valve, but in actual fact it really is pretty similar. To get this guy apart, the first thing is to get that dome off. There's a clear dome comes over the top here, and you'll see it runs around this slot here, and it's got little keyways there to hold it in place. But it's just a matter of flexing and so forth to get that off. So that's number one. That clear dome comes off, put him to the side so you don't break it. The next thing, to get inside to actually lube it, I'm lubing this because it's become tight, the actuation, holding it because I've started the pulling apart process already. Step one is all these bolts. So undo the bolts, there's stainless steel nuts underneath which will just drop away. Undo the bolts all the way around, and then you can lift the top off, and that gets you down to the multi-port gasket. Now I'm going to put links for all of the parts in the description, so you can have a look there if there's parts that you're chasing. Inside there is the part that moves the spindle. So to get this section here apart, the same as a normal multi-port valve, there's this pin, and you see it goes through there, through the handle, sitting back in for you, like that, and then right through that and through the other side. So that needs to be knocked out with a hammer. I just used a Phillips head screwdriver, hammer and a screwdriver, something that's smaller than the pin so that it can push right the way through and drive that out. Now, before you can get the handle off, of course, you need to get the pressure gauge out. Now again, they've gone and got themselves a pressure gauge which is different to everybody else. Everybody else has a thread on the bottom. They've got this little setup here where a screw actually screws through right there and holds it into place. That's the screw there. Okay, undo that screw, take it out, pressure gauge will come out, and then the handle will come off. This just clips off the top. As a matter of fact, that comes off the top of the pressure gauge. That comes off. Then you may have to give it a tap, but this center spindle then comes out like that. This one's a bit dry, I haven't lubed it yet, but I want to show you the parts and the order of the parts. We've got this nylon washer here that the handle runs around on. It's like a bearing, so it's nice and smooth. And then down under that, let's push that off. Because down under that there are two shaft O-rings. See those guys there? They go down on that ledge, on that shelf there. And then inside here, that was just the bolt that I've left in there. There's no serviceable parts or anything that you need to worry about. There's an O-ring obviously between this ring and this ring. That needs to be lubed when we put it back together. These guys here, the shaft O-rings, definitely need to be lubed. And once we get this out, you'll see there's another great big O-ring here. That's the Poolrite. Instead of the spring on the valve, they have a rubber. So if yours is perished and gone, again, I'll put links in the description for where you can get these. Again, I'm going to give this a lube to take as good a care of the rubber as we can. Underneath that, stainless steel washer. Okay, so again, just checking this, you have a rag by so you can give everything a wipe, give it a clean, but pull it apart, clean it. Just get a hose and give all of this, where all the dirt gathers around the top, clean it all out, clean off the shaft, give everything a clean down, then get some silicone-based lubricant, link in the description, as I said. Don't use Vaseline, it makes O-rings stretch. Lube all of the O-rings, all of the moving faces. So here where it's moving on the neck, here, the O-rings, the little pivot in the base of the valve there, lube that and put a bit of lube on the gasket as well, just a small amount, just to preserve the rubber and look after it. Then, once she's all lubed, put it back together. And that is a matter of the order: stainless steel washer, rubber grommet, then the head goes back on, then those two rubber washers go back on, then the nylon bearing, nylon washer, whatever you want to call it, goes on. Then this is where the juggle begins. You got to put the handle down like that, and the lining up for the head. This is the handle, and where it's pointing is here. This little slot, where it's pointing it needs to be lining up with the little hole, that one there, not the big hole. So the handle needs to be pointing to the little hole. That's the same on every multi-port valve there is. Handle pointing towards the little hole. So it doesn't matter where it is in the valve positioning, you can turn it, but the handle does have to point, this part here, to the little hole. So I'll lube it all up and then I'll put it back together. Rubber. This is pretty flopping hard to get it on. I'm standing, as you can see, they've got a nice clean flat surface, and I'm standing on both sides of this to press it down onto the rubber. I've compressed the little white nylon washer down, then I've got the handle on, I've got it sitting flat. I could not get the pin in, but what I've managed to do is that screwdriver I showed you with the pointy end, I've managed to get it in, and now that it's in and holding it in place, you see we can flex that plate down and send the pin in from the other direction. So now that that's done, I can pull that plate down and hold this in place and then send the pin in from the other direction and get it in. But wasn't able to get the pin in as it was, so prepare some time. If you've got a big vise, you can get a big vise and hold it here and here, put some soft jaws on the other side because that's the rubber, and squish it up, then you'll be able to put it on nice and easy, or maybe a couple of G-clamps or something like that. But out here in the field I don't have those, so I've just got a matter of compress. So I'm now going to drive the pin in from the other side, and then the handle will be on. It started to go in and the screwdriver has popped out the other end, so now it's just a matter of finishing off the pin, getting it tight, and she's back. I had it in this side, I then had to stand on the top here to compress this back down so that the pin would drive straight through. So yeah, difficult. Hardest valve I've come across is this Poolrite valve. So if you're going to do a home service and take the top off and lube it, just be prepared for a bit of a fight. Maybe if you replace that rubber on the bottom, it'll be nice and supple and it won't be hard, but an very old hard one like this is very difficult to get the lid back on. But we got there.
Okay, so update. This, once I got it together and put it onto the filter, it worked as I tested it. And then after about 5 minutes, I came back and tested it again. And I think the big rubber inside actually split because I'd worked it so hard compressing it. It was just simply too hard. And then the whole thing collapsed. And all of a sudden, the handle went loose and the valve didn't work anymore. So I've had to get another rubber for the inside of this guy as well. And you may even consider getting a whole multi-port. I'll put a link through to that.
I have lubed the center of that as well because that's obviously pivoting on that center pivot. And positioning it back, the side that's got the waste port on it has this coming out. So that's at 90-degree angles. So that's the position it needs to go back on the top. So all your bolts in, all the way around, do them up, and put the pressure gauge back in so that it just sits in with the screw, and then the cover back over the top, and you're done. Congratulations.
So as it turned out, customer's choice, we replaced the multi-port. You can see a brand new one here. It came in complete unit because, as I said, the rubber did collapse under that one and it fell apart, but they didn't want to play around with it, spend any more money, so stuck on the brand new one. The price wasn't too bad, and now it's running just like a brand new filter. So you make your call as to which way you want to go. Have a look at the links in the description, and good luck repairing your Poolrite filter.